There's winter coming. There's a darkness and doom. Holy shit, you sound like my father. And he's like, I'm Damon the Dreamer now, baby. Woo! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Comically Boston. Today's episode 177. But today's another breakdown bonus episode of House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 8, The Queen Who Ever Was, which might be one of the worst titles of an episode. And honestly, not my favorite episode of the season. Obviously, out of the 8 episodes, my favorite is going to be the Battle of Rook's Rest. I believe the episode title was The Red and Gold Dragon, referring to Meleys and Sunfire, Aegon and Rhaenys's dragon. And yeah, this episode has a lot of dialogue and a lot of great writing and like little quick scenes that like you wanted to spend more time in, but at the same time you wish there was a battle this episode, right? Like this whole season felt like there was leading to this big battle, and then this last episode was like 70 minutes or something, and a lot of people online were saying, did I just watch a 73-minute trailer for season 3 of House of the Dragon? And they're not exactly wrong, but at the same time they might be a little too harsh. I mean, that was a great episode, but all that means for me is that season 3 better have multiple crazy battles. But let's get into this episode. Previously on the last episode of House of the Dragon, Rhaenyra had just gotten more riders for her riderless dragons. She got Adam of Hull, she got Ulf the White and Hugh Hammerhard Hugh for Vermithor and Silverwing, I believe are their dragons' names. But just the poster here, like, oh, I love the posters. Every time like there's been a poster online, I've tried to grab the best ones for the thumbnails of the videos. All must choose. You must, especially, I thought it was all going to come to a head this episode, but no, it seems like next season's really going to be people's choice is going to be, are you Team Green with Aemond One-Eye, or are you Team Black with Rhaenyra, the true queen? Are you a fake king, usurper king, or do you know the one true queen, Rhaenyra? You guys already know my answer. Rhaenyra's my queen, but I will be sad if Olivia Cook Alicent isn't on the show more, because every time Alicent and Rhaenyra and they go back and forth talking and the way that their scenes like play out, I love the two of them together, and I'm glad we get one little final, maybe final conversation between the two of them in this episode, but that doesn't happen till later. So let's get into it. Last episode ended with Vhagar having to turn around and Aegon One-Eye having to turn around Vhagar because he saw that Rhaenyra was on Dragonstone with Syrax, Vermithor, and Silverwing, and that ending of the last episode was so badass that I really thought there was going to be a battle this episode. Very pissed that it wasn't, but it is what it is. We cut to the intro. The intro, I believe, had some updates, or maybe it was just still the Battle of Rook's Rest was like the last update that they had there. But it looked slightly different, but I'm sure they might even change that intro again for the next season, because season 1 it was blood trails between dials, season 2 it was tapestries, so I'm not sure if they're going to continue on tapestries for season 3, but if they do, I hope they update it, you know, every episode or anytime something big happens again. That was kind of cool, you know, having an intro that's the same but also changing throughout time. But we open on a monkey walking in on Tywin Lannister trying to break the blockade negotiations with the Triarchy. And Tywin has to best their commander, a new character named Lohar, a big old woman that's a sailor and a fighter, and she's really cool, and I was so happy. I was like, at first I was like, damn, they're introducing a new character at the end of season 2. Like, we haven't seen her once throughout the show, and all of a sudden she's in this last episode of season 2, and Tywin had to break this, you know, had to make negotiations, or Aemond One-Eye probably wouldn't have been so happy. Although I was wondering the whole time, I was like, why doesn't he just threaten them with, Vhagar will come here and burn all of us alive if I don't go back safely and you guys don't agree to help us. But instead, he kind of, you know, gets the short end of the stick, and he's like, what do I have to do to get you guys to sail with me, huh? What do I have to do? I'm the master of ships. I have no navy. What do I have to do to get you onto our side? And they make a deal, and they're like, all right, well, you have to do this and that, but more than anything, all of our sailors follow our commander, Lohar. And he's like, looks at her and he goes, oh, a woman, hello. And then she's like, I will not sail with somebody that cannot best me. He goes, best you at what? And she kind of turns around and we're all sitting there like, what does he have to best her at? Fucking? Fighting? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in a little bit. Foreshadowing. Then we cut to Aim and One Eye on the back of Vhagar, and they're overlooking the city that's on fire, and we find out later that it's the city of, or town, or whatever it is, of Sharp Point, and they were all innocent people, and Vhagar must have been just that pissed at the end of that last episode. Rhaenyra and them have 3 dragons, and Vhagar wanted to go to war, so it's like they just like turned around from that war and was like, you see that small town? Let's go fuck them up because of how mad we are. And they just burned Sharp Point alive, and like everyone burned alive. And we saw them, you know, we didn't even see the first blast, and we just see like the whole, like big long line of fire, and they're up on like a cliff. And you could tell that they just did this. And then they kind of swoop in again to go like over for round 2. But they don't show us if he continues to do it. But I have a feeling that he might have passed over 2 or 3 more times and burned that entire city to the ground. You know, like if they're not going to be on my team, they're not going to be on Rhaenyra's. You know, like Aim and One Eye getting vicious on the back of that dragon. Or maybe it was just Vhagar. Who knows? Vhagar's an old lady, but she's ready for that war. But we cut over to King's Landing, and Aegon, our poor, beat-up, burned king. You know, as the more and more I see Aegon, the more and more I'm like, damn, the poor guy. But he's asking the maester for just a little bit of rum in his drink, just a little bit. And he's like, you're a good guy. And he is starting to look slightly better, but he still looks, you know, like Viserys, where we're like, wow, he looks good, but he is clearly dying. He's long in the dying, if you would. But then Larys comes in, saying that they should leave, and he informs Aegon that Rhaenyra, and they call her the Pretender, which cracks me up. I'm like, oh, Rhaenyra's the Pretender? You're the usurper, but Rhaenyra's the Pretender queen? Tell yourself whatever you need. Fucking, either way, Larys informs Aegon that she has found new riders for her dragons. He's like, that's impossible, and he's like, well, they have. But I have moved all of House Strong's money to the Iron Bank in Braavos. And he's like, you want me to go to Essos? And so Larys wants to take Aegon to Braavos, Essos, wherever, you know, not King's Landing. He's like, we need to get the fuck out of here. I sense that Rhaenyra and them are coming. And he's probably not that wrong. But Aegon says Sunfire is dead. So we don't get like a visual confirmation on this, but a confirmation from Aegon himself that his dragon is dead. And we, in the books, that dragon is just on Rook's Rest eating sheep, you know, like never takes flight again, just kind of walks around killing shit. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we see Sunfire again like that, or maybe he's just done. Maybe Sunfire's actually just dead. But Aegon says a absolutely brutal remark that I bet every man in watching kind of tensed up a little bit. He goes, did they tell you my cock is destroyed? Did they tell you that? It burst into flames like a sausage on a spit. Oh, God. As someone that just cooked Italian sausages on the grill recently, I was like, damn, son. It burst into flames like a sausage on a spit, so it exploded and dick juice exploded. Ew. Nasty. Poor Aegon is not only burned, he doesn't have a dick, he's no longer a dragon rider. Like, what does this man really want to be king that bad? I don't know, man. His favorite hobbies were whoring and giving his bastard children to the fighting house. He can't do either of those things anymore, right? Like, poor Aegon. Everything has been taken from him. He goes, I can't even piss without it running down my leg. And then Larys goes, you're Aegon the Victorious, Aegon the Peacemaker, Aegon the Rebuilder. And then Aegon goes, Aegon the Realm's Delight. Okay, bud. Whatever you feel. At the end of last episode, we saw Rhaena leaving to go find that dragon, that mystery dragon that was on the Vale, and see if she can make it you know, she can be its rider, and if not, die trying. But we see her running and running, and then she finds some water. This bitch has been running for a while. If she's that thirsty, she's running over, pour some water in her face. But then we cut to Dragonstone, and Jace walks in on Ulf and Hugh. Ulf's got his feet on the table, has no manners. Hugh has a little bit more respect, but Jace kind of big dogs him and just like, I'm the fucking prince. And, you know, if you should be fucking, you should think yourself so lucky to have a dragon. He's like, well, I should be a fucking knight. I'm a dragon. Me and my dragon are fucking cool. Like, Ulf is such a arrogant little prick, and at least Hugh seems to have some respect. But Ulf, man, ooh, he's tough. He's a tough look for Rhaenyra and Dragonstone. He's gonna be a tough nut to crack, if you know what I mean. Jace informs Hugh in Ulf that Aemon burned Sharp Point. So this is how we know that Aemon wiped out those people of Sharp Point. But then we cut to Rhaenyra talking to her hand, Corlys. Corlys says he wishes he had more time, more to do with Alan, but he's a good man and of integrity. And Rhaenyra, he also informs Rhaenyra that she is forgetting some dragons. Daeron's dragon, Tessarion, the blue dream, or whatever they call it, the blue princess, whatever. And Helena's dragon, Dreamfire, which apparently is a formidable dragon. We have yet to see Dreamfire fly, but we saw her in the cave one time, I believe, in season 1, where Aemond One Eye had not lost his eye yet, and he was, you know, trying to find a dragon to claim, and we see it like burn a big fire blast above him. And Dreamfire kind of looks like a kind of big girl, you know, and we know that Dreamfire kept having eggs and stuff like that, so I don't know, Helena, Dreamfire, something might be happening there. Corlys now has his ship that's about to be back on water and going into battle yet again. And it used to be called the Sea Snake after himself. That's how arrogant he was. He was called the Sea Snake, so he named the boat the Sea Snake after himself because he's an arrogant man. But he's trying to do better, and he's trying to do things for Rhaenys now. And he named his new boat the Queen Who Never Was. And he says what he does now, he does for her. Then we cut to Alfred Broom, Sir Alfred, at Rhaenyra's messenger that she sent to Harrenhal, to Daemon, to see what Daemon was up to, and he's now just arriving. So showing just how quick you can get there on Dragonback versus how long it takes on foot or on horseback or in carriage or whatever. It's a much more lengthy process. But Alfred Broom arrives and wants to talk to Daemon, and they go out to the Godswood to talk privately. And Alfred goes, "Did you hear something?" And like it's like noises happening, and Daemon's like, "This place will have you barking at the moon, mad." And you're like, yeah, he's not wrong. Daemon's been losing his mind in this place. I can't believe Daemon's still at goddamn Harrenhal. So Sir Alfred says to Daemon, "Rhaenyra's intentions are good, but what we need in this moment is a king." And Daemon goes, "I didn't take you for a turncloak." And Sir Simon Strong overhears this and ends up sending a letter to Rhaenyra about this, catching Daemon thinking, should I be king? Cut over to King's Landing and Aemond, Prince Regent, Aemond One Eye, saying people won't need their food if they're slaughtered by the enemy. We all must make sacrifices. And Sir Ironrod's even starting to realize, like, damn, this guy's vicious. He's just like, listen, all the food goes to Vhagar, all the sheep. I know the people of our town need to eat, but fuck them. They don't deserve it because we're in war, and they need to make some sacrifices. And he's like, but you need to feed your people or they're going to uproar right here in your own home. Then we cut to Alicent talking to Helena. What do you think about leaving? And Helena's like, where would I go? And then Aemond walks in and asks Helena to take Dreamfire out on Dragonback and come with him on Vhagar to Dragonstone and wipe out Rhaenyra. He goes, I can't do it by myself. I need another dragon rider. And his mother, not a dragon rider, she won't understand as far as he's concerned, kind of mothers him and goes, no, you're not taking my baby girl. You're going to corrupt your sister into dragon riding and bring her into this war when out of all of us, she's the only one that shouldn't be here and the one that's been, you know, had her child murdered in front of her. You know, she had to sew on her own son's neck. She's a dreamer. We find out this episode, we've always, thought she was, but we find out for sure. You know, like she's a poor innocent girl. You don't fuck with poor Helena. And he kind of listens and leaves. You know, waits for Allison not to be around. But then we cut over to Sir Kristen Cole, and he's in the middle of the woods heading into battle, and they're camping, and he's holding a little piece of cloth, and it's Allison's favor that she gave him way earlier in season 2. Because we know that this last time he went out, she didn't give him her favor. But he still has it from last time, and he still loves her, clearly. But Gawain has him at sword point and goes and calls him out. And Gawain's like, listen, you're fucking the queen? You're King Regent's mother? You fucking... what happened to being a Kingsguard and being celibate? Fuck you. What the hell? Like... And Kristen doesn't lie and says she saved my life twice, and since then she's been the beacon that I follow. Kind of like the beacon that lights Hightower, you know, like it's a green saying. And Gawain was like, oh, she's your beacon, huh? That's cute. But Kristen questions the Kingsguard, and Gawain's like, what do you think? The Kingsguard, all your brethren aren't celibate and shit? And he goes, are they? Perhaps they are. But he goes, it doesn't matter. You know what, you saw what I saw. When the dragons dance, men are like dust under their feet. We march now towards our annihilation. To die would be a relief, no? Don't you think? And then Gawain just kind of sits down next to him, and you're like, well, fuck. I guess they're both heading into death, and Gawain isn't going to kill Kristen for fucking his sister, but now he knows, so now maybe they're just gonna be boys. I don't know. But we cut back over to a mud fight going on between Tyland and Lohar, and this is great. And Tyland hits her hard as hell and silences the crowd, and everyone goes, oh, you know, and she kind of sits up, spits out blood, and goes, I'm impressed, Sir Tyland. I'm impressed. You shall have dinner with us, and ask if he would be a cannibal for them. And he's like, I wouldn't and I won't. And she goes, are you disrespecting my hosting? And he just kind of says nothing, and everyone starts laughing. It was just a joke. They're not actually cannibals, but fucking Tyland was thinking about it. He goes, I've already fought this bitch. I'm already covered in mud. I gotta have dinner with her. I guess maybe I'll be a cannibal for you. No, I don't think so. But then we cut back to Bela at Dragonstone, walking in on a pouting Jace, and goes, are you pouting? He goes, no, I'm just angrily waiting. And you're like, oh, you're such a pussy. And she goes, you are the crowned prince, your mother's the queen, and you're sulking? And she's like, not wrong. Then we cut to a shot of Rhaena freezing on the side of like a mountain, trying to sleep, and she's just freezing, chasing after this dragon that she doesn't know if it's out there or not. But then we cut back to Tyland having dinner with Lohar, and he's singing, and she goes, and he's like, sings poorly, and everyone in the crowd's kind of like not clapping, and then she claps, and everyone follows her lead. And you're like, okay, so she seems to have some fascination with him, but I'm not sure everyone else will follow him. But they will follow her, clearly, because she says she will sail with him, and he stands up and goes, to the gullet on the morrow, and everyone goes, yay! And she goes, and let the sea snake rue the day we meet again. Oh, so Lohar and the sea snake, two ship captains, have apparently done battle before. So maybe this is going to be a naval battle that we're going to see over here in season 3 between Lohar, Tyland Lannister, and the sea snake and Adam, or Alan, his other son. Not Adam. Adam is now rider of Sea Smoke, so he'll be in the skies. She goes to Tyland, I wish to have children by you. And she says, I want you to fuck my wives. And he goes, how many wives do you have? Like, God, men will be men. And he's like, listen, he goes, I just did this all for you, but he goes, sure, you want me to fuck your wives? I'll fuck your wives. Cut back over to Dragonstone, and Rhaenyra is toasting her now newfound dragon riders, and she is wearing her queenly crown, and that is King Viserys' crown, Jaehaerys before her, and I love the crown on her. She looks so good, but I love the little shoulder dragon jewelry going on. The costume department has always killed it in the show, but I cannot get over Rhaenyra in this crown. Every shot of her in this crown, I was like, I love it so much. She looks so good. She looks like a queen. She looks like she should be in charge. And I stand by it. But she toasts to the group, and you see the table here is Rhaenyra, Jace, her heir, but also Dragon Rider. Baela, her heir's betrothed, her also niece, Daemon's daughter, but also now her stepdaughter. Family tree is a little weird. And then we got Hugh Hammer to Baela's left. At the end of the table across from Rhaenyra, we have Ulf the White, being an arrogant asshole as always. And then we have the other, to Jace's right, we have Atom of Hull. And some knights in there in the background as well, but they're having a feast for just these 6 people here. Those people at King's Landing would be unhappy to see this. But I love how much that Ulf is just an asshole, and he's like, God, if you don't want me to be an asshole and you want me to act in manners, you're gonna have to make me a knight. And she's like, act with manners and I'll make you a knight, you prick. You know, he's just such a small folk. He's never been a highborn or ever thought of him as like a lord or anything like that. Never interacted with kings or queens, clearly. But I love at the table the side eye that Jace is giving fucking Ulf, and he's like, you forget yourself, friend. And he's like, oh, you guys would do well to learn a sense of humor. But I love the behind the scenes, the 3 of them together, and this picture on the internet. The internet is so undefeated. Hugh Hammer is now on Vermithor, so he's the angry dragon. Atom of Hull's the nice guy in the middle, so he's just over here looking at Ulf, the silly, stupid dragon, which I love so much. So accurate. But Rhaenyra tells them that she will make them all knights if they serve her well. Learn your commands of your dragons, and then they talk about you must kill innocents. And they're like, well, they're innocent people. What do you mean? We can't just kill them. And Jason's like, it must be done. If it has to be done, it must be done. And they all kind of agree. And you're like, oh shit, these dragon riders are ready to kill some folk. But Ulf is drunk, arrogant as always, like I've been saying. And then as this dinner's happening, a knight comes in and gives Rhaenyra some mail, some raven mail that has just arrived from Sir Simon, and it's about Daemon, so the mail I was talking about earlier. And she says, I won't allow it, whatever Daemon trying to be king, and she's like, I won't allow it, and then goes, Atom, come with me. So she leaves with Atom. And then we cut to Daemon sleeping at Harrenhal, and we think he's sleeping, and we see Alice Rivers at the end of his bed, the fucking witchy little witch herself. Oh, she's such a creepy little witch, but I love her, but I hate her. Fucking with my boy Daemon. But he goes, do you ever sleep, witch? And she goes, I'm going to the Godswood, and it's the middle of the night. Then he follows and goes, when you came here, you were a closed fist. And she talks a bunch of other shit about him. And she goes, no scoff, no nothing. And he goes, I'm not inclined to anymore. And she goes, wow, he really has learned. And then she goes, today you are ready to command your own fate. And he touches a tree and he sees the 3-eyed raven, White Walkers. It's crazy. I have a clip of it. It's really nuts. It's not the best quality clip, but it's still a phenomenal part of this episode. Probably my favorite part of this episode for sure. Daemon sees this dream and I'm like, oh shit, is Daemon a dreamer now? But like, let's play this clip. Then it cuts off at the end of that clip because it heads into the next part in a different clip. But Daemon's dream, Daemon's vision, and I don't know if this is just Alice showing him this or Daemon's actually dreaming this, but either way, he touches the weirwood tree and it's like he's touching the blood on the tree. We saw blood on his hand all season. We didn't know what it was for. Maybe this is it finally. The blood on the tree, the blood on the hand, and he sees a Targaryen, we think. And he is got like a birthmark on his face, it looks like, or maybe just dirty. But he is the three-eyed raven, and I believe this is just a younger version of the same three-eyed raven that we see in Game of Thrones years later. And this guy also kind of looks like a Targaryen. It's been a long time since I've gotten that far into Game of Thrones, so I almost need to restart it. And after this season 2, I'm thinking I might restart Game of Thrones again for like the 4th time. But Daemon sees a White Walker, and this isn't the Night King, but it's one with long hair, so maybe it's that creepy long-haired one we see in Game of Thrones. But he's walking with an army of dead behind him, and then he cuts to a shot of burning 3 eggs, burning on fire, and then there's a shot of Daenerys Targaryen's back, like we see in one of the season finales, where Daenerys the Unburnt in her 3 dragons hatch in the fire. It is crazy that they included this, and you know, in Daemon seeing this now, right? And this is supposed to be 150 something years in the past, or Daenerys is 150 years in the future from House of the Dragon. You know what I mean? And then afterwards, he sees Rhaenyra sitting on the Iron Throne. So maybe this is finally reaffirming him that, like, this is bigger than him. It's not about him being king or sitting the throne. It's about the dead and this girl that is clearly lineage from Rhaenyra and him years and years from now. You know what I mean? Like, even that three-eyed raven, I think, might be a great-grandson to Daemon and Rhaenyra at some point, some way. But, you know, I feel like Daenerys has to be their lineage somehow, some way. You know, like, there's only, like, 2 Targaryens left by that point, right? And one other one that we don't know of, but he's kind of more like the Strongs, Jace, you know, a Targaryen that has black hair, you know what I mean? It's a little different. Jon Snow. Love Jon Snow. Daemon also sees himself drowning. Like, it's like is he seeing his future? But he's also seeing well past his future, you know, to Daenerys' future, to the Song of Ice and Fire, to, you know, Aegon's dream, like the Conqueror's dream. Crazy. And then at the end of that Daemon dream, and it cuts off the clip, but it cuts to a shot of Helaena. And at first I was like, is that Alice Rivers in white hair? But it's actually, it says in the closed captions, Helaena, and she says, "It's all a story, and you're but one part in it. You know your part. You know what you must do." And then it cuts, and you're like, what? What do you mean? Why is Helaena in his dream now? And then we cut to Aemon walking up to Helaena as she overlooks it off into the distance. And you're like, oh, fuck. Was this same dream that Daemon was just having in the middle of the night? Was Helaena a part of it in some way? Like, is she that powerful a dreamer that she was seeing his dream happen and she, like, was in it? I don't know. But Helaena talks to Aemon, and Aemon asks her again to take Dreamfire to Harrenhal with him. And she goes, "Will you burn me like you burned Aegon?" And I was like, oh, how does she know this? And he's like, it's a lie. But here's the clip.
Sister, we share the same blood, you and I. I know you wish no harm to anyone, but in a time like this, when the good of the realm depends on us, our mother is not a dragon rider. She cannot understand that you and I have a truer call to heed. Come with me to Harrenhal. We will lay waste to Daemon and his army.
And if I refuse, will you burn me as you did Aegon?
That is a lie.
I saw it. You burned him, and you let him fall.
What you say is treason.
Aegon will be king again. He's yet to see victory. He sits on a wooden throne, and you'll be dead. You were swallowed up in the god's eye, and you are never seen again.
I could have you killed.
It wouldn't change anything.
Damn. So Helaena kind of stands up to him. And like I love it. He like walks up and he like goes to touch her arm, but he doesn't. And he like knows that like he shouldn't be asking her for help, but he needs her help. But he's like, she probably won't give it. But I'm trying to like show her my good side. But she knows Aemon's dark little secrets. You burned Aegon. That's a lie. And she goes, Aegon will be king again on a wooden throne. Not the Iron Throne? A wooden throne? Okay. You will get swallowed up, talking about Aemon now, you will get swallowed up in the God's Eye, never to be seen again. So is this the iconic God's Eye battle between Aemon One Eye, Vhagar, Coraxes and Daemon, and uncle versus nephew? And I think it will claim both of them. We saw Daemon drowning. We just heard that he will fall into the water and never be seen again, swallowed up. I don't know, but Helena, the goddamn dreamer, she seems so much more powerful than we have ever imagined. I thought she was like this, I hate to say it, but like, you know, somewhat autistic, you know what I mean? Like I felt like she had some type of like problem, but clearly it's just very, very overwhelming to be a dreamer of this state where she like is seeing the future. And as a child, she's probably trying to figure out like what the hell this is, what is she seeing? And now as an adult, she's like, I know what's happening. Like you will die. Aegon has yet to see victory. He will sit a wooden throne. So then I was thinking about that. I'm like, wait a second. Sits a wooden throne. Is she talking about the wrong Aegon? Like, is she talking about, you know, spoilers for Game of Thrones if you haven't seen it? Is she talking about Jon Snow, who we find out is an Aegon Targaryen, like the 6th or something like that? And not Ned Stark's bastard? But he is a Stark, but he's also a Targaryen. And he might be that prince that is promised that's supposed to unite the realms. Or it might be Dany. I think it's up for interpretation, you know, art is subjective. You know, whatever you want to take it as, I guess, is how you can take it. But to me, I was like, damn, son, I don't know what that whole dream is, but I really want to see it play out. But then we cut over to Syrax and Rhaenyra landing at Harrenhal, and Sir Simon comes out to greet her himself, and Sea Smoke is up patrolling the skies, and she walks into the halls, and everyone is still kind of making noise, and they should all be like immediately bending the knee to her queen, but she walks in, and everyone's still kind of talking, and then Syrax lands in the top of Harrenhal and kind of roars, and everyone kind of quiets down, and we see Daemon walk out and emerge out of this giant crowd of troops, and we see Sir Alfred Broom behind him there. But man, Daemon, and now he's got troops, and it's not empty. He actually has an army now. So what he was doing here wasn't for nothing. And he walks up to Rhaenyra the first time they've seen each other since he's left, and he goes, "I wasn't expecting you. These men are sworn to me." And she kind of steps back and says loudly, "And who are you sworn to?" And he like shakes his head and like kind of waits a second, and then speaks softly in High Valyrian directly to her and goes, "The world is not what we thought, darling. There's winter coming. There's a darkness and doom." Yeah, and she goes, "Holy shit, you sound like my father." And he's like, "I'm Daemon the Dreamer now, baby, woo!" Or it's just witchy powers, but either way, he says to her, "The realm's only hope is a leader who can unite it, and my brother chose you." He kneels and says, "You are the true queen, Rhaenyra, first of her name, protector of the realm. I am meant to serve you till death or the end of our story." Everyone then kneels, and she takes his hand in High Valyrian. She goes, "Leave me again, at your peril." And he goes, "I could not. I have tried, my queen." And they almost kiss, and then instead he turns around and hypes up her troops. And I have a clip of him hyping up the troops, and I kind of really like how he did it.
"For every one of us who falls, 100 of them, there will be no mercy. We fight for our queen."
Wow, so two things I just noticed in that clip that I didn't notice the first time. Sir Alfred Broom walks away through the crowd like, oh shit, Rhaenyra's gonna want to talk to me and I'm gonna be in trouble. So I'm gonna go this way. So he pieces, and then Sir Simon Strong is in the background, like just slow clapping, not sure if he's supposed to be clapping or not, but he's like, yay! But that scene kind of does give me chills. He's like, for every one of us that falls, 100 of them! We fight for our queen! To war! And everyone, ah! Like, and just like Daemon's face, like, yelling with all the troops, war! Like, yeah, that's a man hyped up, ready to go to battle. What's good? Then we cut over to Corlys talking to Alan, and he says to Alan that he should lead, in that your men say you have been distant and quiet and you should be inspiring them. And Alan finally gets to be mad at Dad, and oh, is it good? You're like, ooh, oh fuck. And he goes, I'm sorry, you're dismissed. And he comes back and like disobeys an order just to fucking light up his pops a little bit. And Corlys is left standing there like, God, I'm a dick. Oh, I'm such a bad father. And Alan is like, you offer me help now that all your kids that you did want are dead. He goes, well, maybe I don't want your help now, you dickhead. Maybe I needed your help when we were fucking starving children and you would walk by and your son would pick out whatever he wanted, talking about him and Laenor walking through the streets. And he's absolutely right. I don't think Corlys deserves to have Alan as his son, especially for how Alan watched him. Knowing Corlys was his father, Corlys didn't necessarily know he was his son, but he didn't necessarily try to find out if he had other sons. You know, he was just sleeping around behind his wife's back with the kids he does have, and then treating his kids to whatever they want at the market. And his Adam and Alan of Hull are both his kids, starving, you know, like so Alan is pissed at him and really lights him up and goes, I will decline any offers of help because I never needed you when I've been alone and I don't need your help now. And then we see a quick shot of Rhaena seeing the dragon, and she's like, oh, it's flying, I gotta chase after it. So she's just been chasing after this dragon, trying to get a glimpse of it up close and personal. And then we cut back to Rhaenyra, left Harrenhal. She went back to Dragonstone, and Cyrax and Seasmoke are kind of out over the water doing their thing, and she talks to Mysaria. So her and Mysaria are still doing her thing. We haven't seen them kiss again, but I kind of want to see more of that in season 3. But Rhaenyra, she goes, Rhaenyra must prevail, and Rhaenyra goes, but who pays the price? And I'm guessing that's going to be some people on the green side, or maybe some innocents. But then Rhaenyra is sleeping and hears a knock at the door, and a knight comes in, and she takes her down to the records room where we saw a couple episodes ago, and Alicent has snuck in now to Dragonstone to talk. So the same way Rhaenyra snuck into King's Landing to talk to Alicent, Alicent has now snuck into Dragonstone to talk to Queen Rhaenyra. And I'm like, God damn, these women back together again? I love to see it. I love to see it. Late at night, and, you know, one's now the Queen Dowager, and one now is the rightful queen, and I think Alicent's finally starting to realize it, like, you should have been queen all along. This war is stupid. Why are we doing this? We can't let this happen under our watch, right? Don't let my kids die. But Rhaenyra knows and goes, Alicent, you said it. It's too late. And Alicent bites her fingernails. And she goes, what did you think, you would come here and be absolved? Alicent goes to Rhaenyra, he loved your mother. He loved me, but he loved your mother until the end. And she goes, oh yeah, he loved my mother until the end, but now but yet he changed his heir at the last moment. And now Rhaenyra really knows it, and I think even Alicent's like, yeah, I made a mistake. It was supposed to be you. I was overheard the Aegon's conquest, the Song of Ice and Fire, and didn't know what he was talking about. I thought it was just ramblings. But Rhaenyra knows she must take Aegon's head if she takes the throne, and tells Alicent to choose. Will you seek what you set out to do, or will you see it through a son for a son? And oof. So from the beginning of like season 1, beginning of season 2, the episode 1 of season 2 is titled A Son for a Son. So now we're coming full circle, and she's saying it straight to her face. Are you here to do what you set out to do, which is knock her off and take the throne, or will you see it through, a son for a son? You took Lucerys. We did technically take Jacaerys, Aegon's son, but we meant to take Aegon, the fake king, the usurper king, or Aemond One-Eye because he's dangerous with Vhagar. And we kind of get Alicent agreeing and saying she just wants to be free, and basically saying, yeah, take Aegon. And Alicent starts to cry. Rhaenyra starts to tear up a little bit, and she goes, and Alicent goes, "You are much changed. Let us be done with this all. Alicent just wants to be free, and no one knows who she is." And Rhaenyra goes, "Wow, that sounds like a dream. My part has been decided for me long ago. You should go." And Alicent leaves. So does Alicent choose Aegon to die, or what is Alicent's choice here? I'm not quite sure. But she definitely, you know, didn't necessarily accomplish anything with this visit to Rhaenyra, but I believe this might be the last time that Rhaenyra and Alicent come face to face. But Alicent's also kind of, you know, trying to negotiate, like, come in, don't kill anyone, take the castle, sit the throne, and this whole stupid war can be done. So now Rhaenyra's finally like, wow, there might be a way that I do end up on the throne without all of us dying. Then we cut to the dragon riders suiting up and Rhaena chasing after that dragon. We still don't know if she is going to end up with it. We cut to a shot of Tessarion, Daeron's dragon. We haven't seen him yet, but it does look like there maybe is a little person up on his back. But he is like a blue dragon with like orange wings. And I just love how each of these dragons sound different, look a little different. They're different in scale and size. They different riders, obviously. I love dragons. I love them so much. Then we cut to the twins, and we see Stark banners walking over the twins. Not the twin Lannister brothers. The twins, the location, the bridge, the twins that the Freys have. So we see Starks finally making their way from the north over this bridge, taking a little shortcut. So there was a rumor that Cragen Stark was going to return, but he didn't. It was just that shot of the Starks walking over that bridge, and they're supposed to be all old men Starks too. Then we cut to Jason Lannister and his banners. We saw him at what, episode 1 or 2 of this season, or maybe 3, and he's still, you know, hasn't made it to Harrenhal. He was close. And he was at the Golden Tooth, and he still hasn't made it. He's been waiting for Vhagar. So Jason Lannister has his banners, and they're making their march. Daemon is still at Harrenhal with his army that he's overlooking. Alicent is still leaving. And all this is we're cutting to as Alicent's still walking out. Then we cut to Tywin Lannister with his now Lady Lohar, and they both kind of have little cuts on their face from their fight that they just had together. But they have their navy, and they're sailing towards now the blockade that is the Sea Snake, and Alan is in his armor with his father Corlys, and those two aren't in best of terms, but they're both heading into a naval battle, it seems, against Lady Lohar and Tywin Lannister. So I'm hyped to see that for next season. Lohar was probably one of the best people to introduce in this episode, and now I'm ecstatic to see her and what she's like with Tywin Lannister for the rest of this future, you know what I mean, for season 3 and however far it goes. And we finally get to see Rhaena seize the dragon up close, and I have a clip of this. Ooh, I kind of like the look of this dragon. It's got like curled wings. It clearly is a wild dragon. Seems more like a rabid, you know, wild dragon. And the dragon sees her and roars at her. But her eyes got so bug-eyed when she finally sees the dragon up close and personal. She's like, I've been running for so long. Please don't fly away. Please just either kill me or let me ride you. Please. Poor Rhaena. But hey, she might be claiming a dragon to start next season, which would be cool. And then this is a great shot that we see of Otto Hightower in a cell. So, and he kind of looked a little swollen, maybe a little beaten up. So why is Otto Hightower in a cell? Did Aemon lock him up? Did Larys lock him up? Did Aegon lock him up? I don't know. But Alicent is still walking out. We see a shot of Larys has Aegon in like a carriage heading to Essos or Bravos, wherever they're heading. Rhaenyra is up overlooking her in her record room, and there's a kind of like this great shot of her, and she's up just thinking about how she might be able to actually head to King's Landing and sit the throne as queen. And then we see Alicent looking at the sunrise, and cut to credits on episode 8, season 2, the finale of House of the Dragon. Wow. What a season finale. I cannot believe how good this show was. Season 2 was great. I loved episode 4 the most because it was a battle and it was some of the craziest dragon action I've seen all in any show ever. And it was phenomenal. And if any of season 3 is like that episode 4, I'm in. There was a ton of dialogue, ton of setting up this episode, and some people can have valid complaints or whatever they want, saying, you know, this was a trailer for season 3. It might have been, but if it starts out with episode 1 is a battle on a naval battle or the Battle of the Gullet or whatever, I feel like season 3 is going to be a big one for battles. Like, I feel like they saved as much of their budget as they possibly could in season 2. They dumped a lot of it into that episode 4, but I feel like they had the remaining sets that they had still built from season 1, so they saved money on set building. They brought back a lot of the same cast, so maybe the cast cost a little bit more for season 2, but there still is a lot of new introduced characters for season 2, so, you know, that saves them a little bit of money. And then visual effects, there wasn't a whole lot of dragon stuff going on. There was like brief stuff, other than that episode 4, but I'm thinking episode 3 might be either all of, you know, the rest of it, or it will be like the crazy battles and then heading into season 4 or whatever happens next. But what's next for Game of Thrones? I really am not sure, but we know we have A Night of the Seven Kingdoms filming now, is set to premiere in 2025. Writing is underway for season 3 of House of the Dragon. That's probably going to premiere in 2026. There's other live action shows in development. Aegon's Conquest, I would love to see that. A show called 10,000 Ships. A third untitled show, and then there's 4 animated shows, 2 untitled, one's called The Golden Empire, and one's called The Nine Voyages, which I believe is about Corlys, the sea snake. But either way, which of these Game of Thrones ones are you excited for? What did you think of season 2? Comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this. I'm so excited, and we got more shows coming around the corner, so we'll be breaking down more episodes coming up in September. Stay tuned for that. Follow my other Comically Bostons. If you'd like to follow me and my other social medias, link down in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new, hit that bell so you don't miss future videos. My name is Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!